I have 10 winter steelhead fishing secrets that I'm going to spill to you right now. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to talk about winter steelhead fishing secrets. Now, I love winter steelhead fishing because it really showcases the anglers who are really hardcore and really love fishing. Now, every winter steelhead fishing angler goes on their own journey, but if you want to be an elite and in the top 1% of steelhead anglers, you need to learn these secrets and apply them right away. Now, starting with secret number 10 is to let the river speak to you. And that means when you go to the river, whether it's your first time or your millionth time, that you need to be looking at the little things when it comes to the river conditions and how the river's gonna fish. Use the conditions and the color to your advantage to see what you should use and shouldn't use. Now, there's the typical standard baits that you should use in low clear water, mid-color, that green water that we all love, as well as off-colored water, but this allows you to experiment and come up with ways based off of what the river is speaking to you, what you should be throwing, how you should be throwing it, and different techniques that you should be using. You should be fishing different baits and different techniques all the time to see what works and what doesn't work, but also be surprised sometimes at baits and techniques that you may not think work in those conditions that do end up working, and you get and land a big steelhead. And the biggest thing with letting the river speak to you is to figure out where to be fishing and where to cast. And that, of course, will come over time as you fish more and more and get more comfortable with the river or the rivers that you're fishing. But one thing I know, when the river speaks back to me, it speaks fish. Now, winter steelhead secret number 9 is to fish later in the day. And just like winter trout fishing, steelhead are a sea-run trout, and they like that warmer water. And when you get into the winter time, when you got cold conditions, you potentially have snow, lots of rain, there could be a lot of ice. The water is really cold in the winter time. I'm talking December, January, February, even into March. So you want to find those pockets later in the day when the water is potentially at its warmest to fish the afternoon. You're going to have more sunlight. The water can warm up even just a degree or even half of a degree, and that can make the biggest difference when it comes to maybe not getting a steelhead and landing one or potentially more steelhead. Now, for some steelhead anglers, they love to go early because they want to get to their spot. They're bank fishing along the river, and that's totally fine. If you want to get there early to lock down your spot, I'm all for that. But to give yourself also a better opportunity, sometimes on those super cold days, you're better off going in the afternoon, letting the water warm up or letting that sun get up, hit the water, and even just a tick of a degree warmer can make all the biggest difference between no bites and the fish just at the perfect moment hitting that bait. Now, secret number 8 is to go for a drive. And I learned this a long time ago from a guide friend of mine, which is if you're gonna fish a river, or if you're new to fishing a river and you don't know where to fish, you should take a drive. And what I mean by that is on a Saturday when there's the most anglers out, when most guys and gals can go out fishing, just drive along the road and see where there's cars pulled over, and you'll probably know that there's fishing spots right near there, or there's a trail or a lane to get down to the riverbank to go fishing. And what I love to do is just drive along the road, see where all those pull-offs are, see where there's cars parked that are out bank fishing, and I'll mark those on, say, my Onyx maps, and note for myself that that is a bank fishing opportunity or a spot that I can go to if it's available the next time. But by knowing where anglers are parking, you kind of know where the best fishing spots are, or the spots that you should be focusing on when you get out there. Now, secret number 7 is a funny one, and it always fascinates me as to why some people do this really well and some people really stink at this. And secret number 7 is to always set the hook. Now, whether I see videos of other anglers or I see anglers out on the water, their bobber will go down or they'll feel something and they just don't set the hook because they think it's the bottom. But most of the time, it's not the bottom, and that's a fish. So anytime that you feel like it's a bite, set the hook and reel. You want to make sure that you're gonna get that hook in there, because if it is a fish, you want to make sure you get that hook nice and tight in the corner of the mouth. And of course, I always joke all the time, hook sets are free. There's nothing to them. They don't cost you nothing. If you feel something, set the hook, because if that is a fish, you're gonna want to make sure that you get into that fish really good. Whereas if you just let it go, well, your percentage of hookups, that percentage and ratio is gonna start dwindling down, down, and down. The good guides and the good anglers set the hook no matter what. Even if you think it's a rock, just set it, because the one time it's not a rock, it could be your personal best in a giant steelhead. Don't ask me how I know. Now, secret number 6 is to journal your entries when you go steelhead fishing. And I've been doing this for a long time when it comes to any type of fishing or crabbing that I'm doing. When I first started out, I had a written journal where I would go in and write a log of the date, the temperature, the water conditions, where I fished, how I fished, what baits I used, what scents that I used, and then writing something that I learned each time out about the water or the places that I was fishing. And that way I could journal and see if there was patterns, how high the river was as well, to document that information. So it allows you to just have more information. So as you accumulate years and years of fishing knowledge and you have that journal, you'll be able to find patterns, but also note in those similar conditions to give yourself the best opportunity to throw those same baits, those same scents, and fish those same locations. Now that we have so many digital apps that we can use to track and put in data, I would highly recommend journaling your trips out because it's going to allow you, again, to find those patterns. But another tip when you're journaling is to also note what's happening in the days before and the days after that you fish. Is the river on the fall? Is the river on the rise? Is it pretty stable? It hasn't rained in a while? Those conditions play a huge part into sometimes the success that you have when it comes to winter steelhead fishing. So not only journal what you did on that fishing day, but also note the weather and the water in the days before and the days after. Now, steelhead secret number 5 is one of my favorites and one that I've used actually a bunch, which is if you make a bad cast, just let it drift through and let it keep going. Here's why. Because even if you have a bad cast, sometimes you may end up hooking a fish, or for my case, a couple years ago, I hooked my personal best steelhead on a terrible underhand cast with bobber and egg. Now, I was out with a guide and I was like, I'm just gonna let the cast roll. It's in the middle of the drift. We wanted to be a little bit farther, I think like 2 or 3 feet farther out. I shorted the cast, but I just kept it going. And sure enough, about 3 seconds later, after that cast hit the water, I still knew it was a bad cast, but then boom, bobber down and reeled in my personal best steelhead on a terrible cast. And of course, my guide friend is laughing his butt off at me. My friend Richie is laughing at me. But then we come up with one of the bigger fish of the day and of the season off a stinky cast, as I like to call it. The secret might be you might catch a few more fish on those terrible cast drifts. Now, winter steelhead secret number 4 is that old school techniques still work. Now, 50 to 80 years ago, steelhead fishing in the Pacific Northwest, those old school techniques of fishing with corkies, yarnies, even plugs back then, those techniques still work really, really well. But now that technology is advanced and there's new baits available, a lot of the next generation and the current generation of anglers are fishing a lot of bait, they're fishing a lot of jigs, they're fishing a lot of beads, which is the kind of the new hot thing over the last handful of years. But that doesn't mean that old school techniques won't absolutely crush the fish and you have some epic banner days. You know, even drift fishing, even fishing with spoons, something like a spinner, we just don't see that many anglers fishing those style of baits or those style of techniques, but they still absolutely crush them. What used to work way back in the day, those techniques still work today. Side drifting, casting spoons, those old school techniques still work and they still absolutely catch a ton of fish. Now, winter steelhead secret number 3 is you have to put in the time. And I mean putting in the time before you get to the river and putting in the time on the river. And let's start with before you hit the river. Apps like Onyx Maps and Google Maps allow each angler to do research on the rivers, or if it's a place you've never fished before, and get yourself an understanding of where to go fishing, but also where entry points might be, and just understand the bends in the river, where there may be access points or good bank fishing opportunities, or where you think there might be good flows of water. I would say even a couple hours of research is going to be more beneficial and may help you catch more steelhead at the end of the day and in the total for the season with that upfront research than doing absolutely no research and just showing up to the river. But secondly, you got to have boots in the water and be fishing. The more time on the river, the more little things that you're going to pick up, the more opportunities you are going to have to get yourself better at steelhead fishing, whether it's making more casts, whether it's fishing more locations along the river. It's just fishing different conditions as well. More time on the river equals more winter steelhead caught. Ask any angler who's fished for steelhead for 10, 20, maybe even 30 or 40 years. One of the biggest secrets is you just got to put in the time. You got to grind. Now, winter steelhead secret number 2 is to amplify your knowledge. And here's what I mean. There are so many great anglers out there. There's a lot of great guides who have a ton of winter steelhead knowledge, and you may even have a friend, a relative, or somebody who maybe has fished a bunch winter steelhead fishing. Hang out with those kind of people. Hang out with those family members. Go fishing with them. If you're uncomfortable or you've never fished a river before, go with a guide. You're gonna 5x your knowledge in terms of winter steelhead fishing when it comes to techniques, different baits. If there's a river that you want to fish, you get to learn some of those things on the water with those guides or your friends and family. So if you're just starting out or you really want to amplify and really uptake your knowledge and give yourself more information, get yourself more in tune to winter steelhead fishing, you need to make sure that you're finding those resources or finding individuals who can really amplify your knowledge to take you from here all the way up to here to that success. Now, we've gone through secrets 10 through 2, but what is secret number 1? Well, let me tell you, it's learning to read the water. As simple as that may sound, reading the water is super critical of winter steelhead fishing because those fish are in cold water. They don't want to be in fast-moving water. There are certain spots of where they're going to sit and how deep they're going to be, and the more you can understand and read the water, what it's telling you, what the color is, you're going to be able to find the right gear, the right baits, make the right cast, and figure out what are those high percentage areas where the steelhead are going to be hanging out, and that's going to give you a massive advantage as you understand how to read the water and where to be fishing. So when you get to the river, analyze what's going on and learn how to better read the water, and you're going to catch more steelhead. All right, guys, that is the top 10 winter steelhead fishing secrets. I hope you guys learned something new today and have some new secrets that you can take to the river the next time you head out. I hope you guys enjoyed this tips video. I got another steelhead video right here that's going to help you become a better winter steelhead angler. I'll see you guys on the next one.